I think that that when you talk about flexibility, it has well, I think John Drawn and I just wrote a paper where we talked about 9 different kinds of flexibility, building on Morton's the laws of flexibility, learning flexibility, he called it. But the first one is just flexibility of space, of being able to study in a place you want to. And that's what we've been doing in distance education for 100 years. But the second one is freedom in terms of time. And there's always trade-offs, because if you have synchronous activities, I think you can get a more deep involvement. But then if you're delivering halfway around the world, as UOC does, that's a challenge. But the other thing of time is pacing, as some people want to study a course in 2 months and some in 2 years. And so providing flexibility, I think is challenging, but it is a student demand, and the more we can inch forward to giving choices that way, I think the better. And the third is just the content. What are you actually studying? And I know that all of our courses have learning objectives, but as working adults, our students need to put those into the context of their work. And so having assignments that can be personalized, so that, okay, this is the general idea. Now, what does it mean to you, to your family, to your school, to your country, or whatever, I think is another way to personalize it. And then there's the the flexibility of allowing people to use different media to express themselves, to allow them to do essays via video, or to be able to do audio interactions rather than just text-based all the time. You can do asynchronous audio, you can do synchronous audio, you can do like instant messaging, SMS, Twitter kinds of things. And I think we have to be open to exploring these things and allowing them to be used. And maybe one of the hardest is the flexibility in terms of being able to delegate the learning design to other people. I mean, most students want that. They want the teacher to give them a path. But for lifelong learning, students also need to be able to devise their own paths through knowledge. And that's really hard for a lot of people, and that's what the CMOOCs are trying to do, is that they're trying to, get people to construct their own knowledge and personal learning environments, and I think that has tremendous opportunity, but it's something we're not very good at yet, is taking responsibility. So another and final element of that flexibility is just allowing students to delegate when they have to or want to, but to assume control of their own learning when they want to. And I think you do that with independent study projects and other ways that you try to encourage, again, the learning to be contextually grounded in what the student knows and what the student's interests are.
You see, personalization is also not only in online learning, but the Anglo-Saxons are always very kind of attentive to students. They have the tutorials, and this is why when the British Open University was established, they have the counselors and tutors. The counselor who accompanies the student throughout his study, throughout his whole study period, and the tutors who are in continuous contact with the student throughout the study also. So it can be done also in an online environment. If you have counselors and you have tutors and they monitor your studies, so it's personalized. Another aspect of personalization is to make tailor-made programs for specific populations in the industry, corporate world, for education spheres and so on, in which you really cater for the special characteristics and needs of this population. This is also personalized.
There are lots of ways to talk about this. One is to consider that students learn in different ways. They take in information differently. They make sense of it in different ways. They want to express what they understand in different ways. So a key in personalization is giving students choices in how they take in, make sense of, and express ideas. That's how I would think about this concept of personalization, is in choice and multiple pathways.
I would stress that the essence of personalization is not technical, it is conceptual, and it must be placed in the very root of the educational process. Personalization means the capacity of exerting some degree of freedom in a number of aspects. I mentioned them. What you have to learn, choosing or influencing the decisions, the selection of content at some extent. How are you going to learn? The methods, the resources, the means, the itineraries, and so on. Where you learn, your preferred places. When to learn, setting the calendar, the time you are going to devote to a study, your personal timetable. Pace of learning, setting the speed of progress through the materials you have to work. Support, choosing the people, the means available to you for counseling, advice, and help. Assessment, being able to decide when your learning is going to be assessed, and even the way in which is going to be assessed. So these are the issues that configure personalization. They are not technical, they are absolutely pedagogical and related to human experience of learning.
That question can be answered in many ways, of course. At the fingertip level, personalization means you can organize your own desktop, your own resources, the way you do your physical desk in your room, which can include hanging pictures on the wall. And some people like to have many things out. Other people like to have a very neat environment. That's a kind of personalization, to be able to control the feeling of your learning atmosphere. That's good. Within a course, personalization can mean that the learner can have choices in the sorts of media that she uses to look at content. She may like to read. She may like to follow up with hyperlinks deeply into content. She may like to, first of all, have a image or a visual overview. She may like a short video that gives an introduction or a summary. It means making these sorts of options available to support the learning process. On a broader scale, personalization means helping the learner to manage and visualize her overall learning life, which is far more than any one course or even one degree program. So in this sense, helping learners see how they can better help themselves for their lifelong learning needs is another form of personalization.